Mm-mm. And now we're live. All right. Well, hello, creatives, community, kind folks. Welcome to Future Friday. We end the week on our subject matter for this week, which was noir and grimdark and evil themes. But on Future Friday, we tend to talk about, well, science fiction on Future Friday. Most specifically, because it just happens to be a favorite thing of mine, that is, we get to talk about uh, transhumanism, post-humanism, science fiction where um, time, energy, and resources have met some of our wish fulfillment. And most specifically, two role-playing games that have really sparked something in me that I find absolutely fascinating. And that is Eclipse Phase and Altered Carbon, which are like uh, cousins of each other in the transhumanist world. Fantastic Dimensions. Oh, hey, what's up there, man? Thank you very much for popping on in. By the way, guys, please check out Fantastic Dimensions channel. You will not be disappointed. He's a brother across the pond and also a writer for a number of dare I say, excellent Call of Cthulhu adventures. You really have to check him out in the Miskatonic repository. Why? Because he helped write them with Critical Hit Publishing, which I write for as well. So you got to check them out. Highway of Blood and The Pipeline and others coming down the way. So please check that out. Oh, anyway, okay. So this Monday through Thursday, we were talking about like noir and grimdark, and I brought up the fact that like cyberpunk came into it because it's such a bedfellow of this kind of thing, Warhammer 40K. But now that we are into Future Friday, we can delve even further. And the title of, or the subtitle of today, I thought would be interesting, about evolving humans but devolving humanity, and how just the prospects of certain types of technology and then moving into the far future, we see that there are what we consider to be moral or ethical today might very well be related to devolving our humanity. And is it necessary, or is it something that we can prevent? Now, I don't mean, we could speculate all we want in our own real world, but I think in tabletop role playing, when it comes to technology and science fiction and things, especially the fact that I happen to be a fan of like Eclipse Phase and our own our own solar system being populated by these enclaves, I think is a really cool thing to think about, and some great adventures and some things we can really pull on. I have kitties in the background who just had their meal. So if you hear them in the background playing, that's what it is. Rickard says it's Future Friday. Neon lights intensify. Yep, reflected from the pools of water just happen to be everywhere you walk for no good reason. Everyone's wearing mirror shades and dark coats with the collars pulled up, and what is it? LED lights in their clothing for no good reason. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so um, one there is a series called Year Million, and I think it's been out for a little bit, but on Disney Plus, I think it's only like 6 episodes, and it's like one of those Nat Geo, National Geographic things, and it talks about technology, and it's called Year Million, and it's basically a theoretical, like, in the future of humanity, what will we be human, and what will we consider human? And I thought we would talk about our own behavior as human, not will we become machines or upload our brains or uplift animals, but more or less talk about since we were talking about this week about grim, dark, and evil and noir themes and such, that there are some things that in the future, while one community may go, well, it's just a reasonable thing to do, the rest of us are like, that's pretty psychotic that you people are doing such a thing, and talk about and come up with a number of these scenarios. All right. Oh wow! Oh, it almost says this is a particularly interesting topic as I'm trying to cover this in stories on my YouTube channel. Okay, all right, steal away, man, steal away. He says, for instance, you could give a species perfect health; they could still turn out to be psychotic killers. Then you could give them photographic memory, but they will have but will they have the empathy to behave humanely towards others? And we know that the at least here broadcast here in the States, there's a Netflix show called Black Mirror. A number of the episodes dealt with that. Like there were people who had I can't remember what the name of it was, a stem. No, 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 that was Upgrade. Anyway, people had implants where they could use a little pocket device to rewind the things they've seen and hear and experience, and you find out that it's not all it's cracked up to be to have perfect memory. When you can broadcast your memories and look at them and then rewind them and look at them again, and yeah, pretty neat. Yep. Rickard says, "May I bring up Stranger Days?" Oh shit! That's you know what? Out of uh, out of all the dark themes, Stranger Days has got to be one of the most um psychotically evil things you could do with technology. All right, so let's start with Stranger Days because that's a benchmark of evil when it comes to using technology. For spoiler alert for those who haven't seen a movie in like the late '90s or something, still excellent though. So in this society, and yes, it's far more, I guess, related to cyberpunk than not. Um, People are escaping the depression of the world by using simulated stimulation. Basically, they can take memories from other people who have engaged in other acts, skydiving, rock climbing, swimming, and im- they use this thing that they put on their head called a squid as opposed to like an implant, but it doesn't matter. And they are able to experience those experiences. And it's like a mini vacation. It's like, yeah, it's like a drug but a mini vacation. Well, it becomes like a drug when they you start recording things that people are doing in the privacy of their home. We all understand porn, but it goes past that. And there is better than life chips. Yep. Better life junkies, the lot of them spits in one of the millions of random puddles on the ground. Yep. Yep. BDL chips for those who play Shadowrun. And there are junkies of these, but it goes even further. There are people who are into and acquiring this, um, dare I say, fictional BTL chips, better than life chips, known as snuff films. And throughout history, there's always been this legend of people making snuff films, i.e., recording someone being killed, and then others experience the same thing, right? Whether it's in our real life or in a fictional universe, and people getting off on it, or people getting off on other people being tortured. And this is far more than, S&M. This is like innocent people. But it goes even further in Stranger Days. It goes even further. There is an individual running around, Squid, superconducting quantum interface device. I did not know it had an acronym. I thought it was just because it looked like a squid. Of course it has an acronym. Thank you very much, Tesla. Yes, it's the plastic glowy device that goes over your skull, because back in the day we didn't consider the fact that we would have, implants. Although that is kind of that is a very cyberpunk, Walter John Williams, William Gibson kind of thing, right? The implant versus the external. So it goes even further. This individual, psycho that he is, goes around attacking, assaulting innocent women, puts on them the device that records their experiences. He is wearing his own device that um, interfaces with the victim so that as he assaults them and kills them, they feel his joy at doing the thing, and then he begins selling those said chips to people on the streets. Yes, Yeah. Trying to see, wow, I'm late. No, you're all right. Tesla says interference, not interface. Oh, I'm sorry. Superconducting quantum interference device. I think it should have been interface, since that became a neural interfaces became the nomenclature of the time. But yes, you're right. Yeah. The the reason why, like, that's this person could just kill people and be done with it, and even could record it and be done with it. Ooh, Harry, well, thank you very much for the coffee again. Nat 20, huh? hey, listen. There are some people that would pay to get nat 20s because of their proclivity to not rolling very high on certain particular types of dice. Yeah, so thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. It's not necessary, dude. You could just like pop in a comment or a question if you'd like. No problem. All right, so one of the things that comes up with, say, the idea of like interfacing and neural networks and virtual reality is public versus privacy issues, right? Like, if you could have a virtual reality built just the way you want and it feels absolutely real, does anybody else have the right to tell you what you're doing in the privacy of your own virtual reality? And is it okay for us to let other people run around public streets and all that kind of stuff, just kind of like quick hits of dopamine in their brain as they pursue yet another victim through a jungle, as they hunt human beings, or making copies of their bosses and like slicing their flesh from their bones because they hate their boss, because they've inserted their boss into their private virtual reality. And it becomes this thing where I think technology might allow us open up the doors to thoughts and behaviors that become, like our social media, become public knowledge or spread out to a larger group, or heck, becomes the thing that organizes people who normally would have been disparate in our society, that organizes them together. You know, if sorry to say, yeah, trigger warning here, but it's far easier today for pedophiles to gather together than ever before. Now, imagine a virtual reality, or a way to upload your brain, or an actual habitat circling Neptune that everyone's in. Hey, come on in. It's like, what? Technology would have let people do that, and especially if it becomes far easier for us to create habitats outside of Earth, if the time, energy, and resources become easy, sending out robots and probes to help build a thing, and fusion generators that are easy to maintain, then it would be very easy for these people who have are do not hold our same moral or ethical standards, to gather together and then be distant enough that no one knows what the hell they're doing and nobody even wants to do the thing. And a habitat means you kind of have to be either invited or willingly go there for the most part. So in many ways, it's very easy to become interbred in a habitat rather than connected to the outside world in many ways. Now, Rickard says the grimdark version of a dartboard with a face on it. Yeah, in a virtual reality where you're just like, oh, I hate those people. Download memories, boom, put them, give them an AI system to get them to run for it, and you're just like, time to take a lunch break. Where's my knife? Do the whole montage, headband, knife, lace boots, guns. What? I didn't get that promotion? Time to go hunting. Yeah. Broke AF. What's going on there, man? Fantastic Dimension says this is very relevant for me right now. I'm 2 sessions into my first mothership campaign, and there are going to be many post or transhuman elements to come, including VR. Ooh. Yeah, Tired Knee says, I heard of the free game Lasers and Feelings. Of course. And the multitude of permutations of lasers and feelings. Yeah. Oh, hells yes. It is one of a number of. At one time, I had an addiction to finding one-page RPGs. I think every year there is I think it's called 200-word RPG or less, and rules light games and stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a very popular one. John Harper Group, 1771 Productions, something like that. But yeah, there's this virtual reality can get pretty okay. So we know that virtual realities could be like blank, right? Just a empty space where maybe a bunch of people gather together, or they could be corporate interests where they're just office. It's essentially an office inside of a digital landscape, much like how we do such a thing now today when we take Zoom calls or Discord or something. It's basically just a grab bag of things, and then we all share that space. But yeah, Tesla puts in it's 17design.com. Click laser feelings. Yep. Anon is another game, and Blades in the Dark, and Ladybird, Bluebird. Oh, I can't remember the other one. Yeah. Sarcasm dripping. Fantastic Dimension says, "Hey, tired, need sleep. Lasers and Feelings is the only system I've played Star Trek in and enjoyed so far." Ouch. Ow. Backhand. Ooh. Burn. So the other thing about virtual realities, and we've seen this portrayed, say, in the Altered Carbon television series, is that if someone has control over the virtual reality, you're in for it, right? If you don't know the rules of the virtual reality and you go into it, who knows what the hell might happen to you inside of that. And one of the things that we tend to overlook in science fiction more often than not is that no one is an island, even when they think they are on an island of their own making. Hey, I'm gun toting. I've got my armor, my power armor, or whatever. I've got my boosted reflexes. I've got every piece of technology you have that you have acquired went through someone else's hands. And once you start adding in cortical stacks and beaming consciousness and downloading your brain, yeah, of course we want to go, hey, okay, I'm going to beam my brain to Mars and wake up in another body and start wandering around. But you're going through the hands of other people who have their own agendas, other corporations, factions, criminal organizations, black operations, secret organizations, individuals, politics, and all that kind of stuff. And your brain, the very nature of you existing might flow through the hands of other people who might have a vested interest in who and what's going on. When you arrive in another place and you get your cortical stack inserted into that other body, whether it's biological or synthetic, who's to say that trackers aren't put on it, or political upheaval happened and when you arrive, you're not in the body you assumed it was, or when you get needle cast or ego cast to another place, your brain shows up in a virtual reality, and there's like some kind of draconian government that's like, all right, you need to explain why you just arrived. And you're like, oh shit, now I'm in a virtual reality and I can't get the hell out, and how long I've been here. And they can overclock or underclock the timing. So it might feel like an hour to me, but 10 years to them, or overclock it and it might feel like an hour to me, but it's only a couple seconds for them. Or 10 years for me and 1 hour for them, or whatever the case may be. And those are things I understand that in science fiction, it could be a little problematic to try to include those things, but I think it's cool to include them. It's a reminder, if nothing else, it could be a reminder to player characters that, like, yeah, it's not about you. You are, as in Cyberpunk, you're not going to change the world. This is a grim, dark world, right? Grim, dark versus noir. It's a grim, dark world. And things don't always work the way you want them to. Man. Yeah. Never played the FASA Trek or whatever it's called, to be fair. Ooh, neither have I. Now, the other aspects of like moral versus ethics versus today and whatnot is the fact that, like we talked about a little bit before we went on air, and we're not going to get too deep into it. We are a tabletop game, not a political game. But how easy would it be for people who believe certain things or are want to live only around people who are ethically and morally aligned with them? How easy would it be for them to, or us? Let's point the finger at myself here. How easy would it be for me to, given the right circumstances, to move somewhere where people are aligned with the things that I like? Now, the problem with that is, and we are seeing that today, is that while on the surface it seems really cool, like, you know what, I could move somewhere where everyone like is into role playing, and I could move to, is that a an orbital habitat around Saturn, and I could just move there, and they're like, yeah, as long as you're in the role playing games, you can move here for free. Just it might cost you the travel, but whatever. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to take anything with me. I'm going to beam my brain. They have 1,001 virtual realities where we just get to role play all the time and blah blah blah. Right? It sounds cool until I raise my hand and move there and go, guys, I don't really feel like role playing. And they're like, why? What's wrong with you? You don't like us? Why do you hate us? And that's usually what happens, right? Like, oh, the tribe loves me, I'm going to embrace the tribe. And then technologically speaking, right, when we're into like our own social media groups, if you raise your hand and go, yeah, that's a little extreme, or I'm not really into that right now, or you know what, guys, that sounds like crazy talk. Look, tell me the tribe doesn't turn on you for daring to pull the legs out from under the foundations of what the tribe stands for. And technology allows us to the today to not even have to hear controversial opposing voices based on the social media we deal with, right? Hey, look up enough videos on YouTube, and you'll never see a video that doesn't align with the videos you just looked up, right? Type in a video, and all of a sudden your feed is just overwhelmed with it, where you're just like, look, I just wanted to see what this news article was about, and then all of a sudden it's like bang bang bang, news feed, and you're just like, oh my god, no, scroll past, no. But you're the one that looked up needlepoint, and now you can't get needlepoint off your feed, right? And technology allows, in many ways, we think of stories where there's a draconian government and people are walking around with like psychic shackles on them, as opposed to people who willingly become the hive mind. Whereas now here, let's do the opposite of that. There are some things that technology has given us that other people are still have controversies about, despite the fact that it makes us better. Fluoride in drinking water is an example. Public education is an example, right? Here in the States, we have public education, and it's by law, it's necessary for your child to receive that public education. In the future, what if that public education is like sleep teaching, or computer implants, or by age 12 they need 3 PhDs, or they're just not going to fit into our society, right? Like, what if implants or nanotechnology or biotechnology to improve the people that we have in our habitat, you raise your hand and go, I don't think that's right. Like, maybe we're pushing the envelope too far, maybe we're evolving too far, but we're also taking away a lot of the freedoms of choosing whether we want to be bred into computers. Today, you really can't navigate society without a smartphone. People try, but all the rest of us look at that person like, oh, you're a Luddite, you're a yeah, what are you, like pseudo Amish or something, but try to do it, try to navigate without your phone, and people feel lost. My phone got broken, and everyone's like, you better call off work and get it fixed, because No one remembers a phone number, right? Everyone just remembers the icon to click. Yeah. Rickard says, speaking of BTLs or better than life, better than life. Are you saying better than life versus VR or mixed with virtual reality and VR? I don't know. Cameron says, I think the underbelly of Star Wars universe is just dark enough for the GM to push the line a bit and get a good reaction from players. The Leia and Vader torture scene in the radio drama was intense. Oh, I've listened to the radio drama, and it goes beyond the sliding door scene. And yes, I think there you can. Star Wars is a good example of pulp action with a dark undertone to it, because we understand, like, we don't really get to see how evil the Empire is, but we get it, right? Because when you fade to black, when the camera moves aside, we have so many real world examples of governments like that. We're just like, yeah, jackbooted governments. We're like, I don't need them to show me, because we already have examples of that in the real world, right? And sometimes our imagination is far better at filling in the blanks. Sometimes horror does that plenty of times, where we fill in the blanks far better than someone could actually portray them on screen. So I definitely agree with you there, Cam. Definitely agree with you. Rickard says, no, AI-driven BTL VR. You know what? What's the television show called? Devs, aka Deus. In Devs, the television show, it's hard to get through. But in Devs, the concept was, given enough points of information, could you create reality, right? That's the ultimate. Given enough points of information, can you predict the future, rewind the past, and live in a world that is indistinguishable from reality? And an AI that can create a better than life virtual reality, you may not know you are in it. It could be so good. And damn, an AI capturing people or using you as an experiment, or a game master, trusting a game master. Here we go, Rickard. We will talk about this later on. Trusting a game master to know that if you're playing in this world where something like that could exist, that you then are in a world where it does exist. Like, oh, we're going to send you on a mission to the outskirts of Neptune, and you arrive. Come to find out, you never left in the first place, because you're in a virtual reality world, or it being used, maybe a permutation from, say, military training. Your sleep people are plugged into machines to train them with military skills, and the PCs are locked into this thing where it's the same military scenarios throughout history over and over and over again, and they have to incorporate it. Or training exercises. We're going to harm you and torture your body, although it's only in a virtual reality, to get you tough enough to survive. What is it called? SERE, SERE training. Survive, escape. Oh, SERE. It stands for something. It's something like survive, escape, rescue, and something else, endure or something. It's training. It's literally a training program to train soldiers when they fail in their missions, and what happens during that time, and how to survive it, and understanding that the system will break you. It's designed to break you. How long will you survive the breakage, and using what little weapons you have when you're basically stuck in a cage? And if that virtual reality is a cage, imagine it's all the worst parts of and worst, I mean torturous parts of. There it is. There's a symbol. Thank you very much. Survive, evasion, resistance, and escape. Thank you there, Tesla. Very good to have someone who can help me with my terrible memory while we're doing this live. But yeah, imagine a military AI that's like, I'm just trying to communicate with you, and you're just like, get me out of here. Like, what is it? Not Jason, Freddy, the dreamscapes of Freddy, right? And this AI is like, it has no other means of communication with you except to torture you to death and hunt you down. Oh my God! Survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. SEER, and it's the badge over there in the Discord. Thank you. Is a training program best known for its military acronym that prepares U.S. military personnel, U.S. Department of Defense civilians, and private military contractors to survive and return with honor in varied survival scenarios. Yeah. There was a television show called The Unit that aired here, and it was written by a guy whose last name was Military. And yeah, and that show dealt with like a special forces unit, and they had a SEER episode. Tired Neat Sleep says, I worry way too much about the Empire's finances. The Death Star would have cost a massive amount of GDP. Yeah. Depending, we don't know the work conditions under which the people built and constructed such a thing. There are many jokes about people in orange jumpsuits, complaining about the work conditions while they're on their breaks. And as well as the fact that we know that most of the time large projects are done by the lowest bidder. So yeah, there's that too. We don't know if the toilets really worked. They just covered it up really well. No, but other parts of like human evolution, de-evolution that I thought we could talk about are like genetic modification, cybernetic implants, even what we do. Like let's talk about death rights. Okay, so we know in space that 99.9% of everything we take with us, we are going to need to reuse. It needs to be recycled. We know we recycle our waste product. Our solid waste can be used for any number of things. It could be feedstock for 3D printers. It could be used for hydroponics and plant life. We know that our liquid waste can be recycled and impurities taken out because our astronauts drink it. We know this. It literally is filtered. They even have thermoses that they can pee inside of and filter it, right? Yeah, Tiny Sleeps like, you're right, but ooh. All right, let's go a little darker. What happens when people die? Now, I know in science fiction, we do the classic open up the airlock and dump them out in space, and or the bury in the ground. But I'm sorry to tell you this, our bodies are packed with chemicals and compounds that we need. So what happens if we recycle human beings? How is that? Maybe we should start burying people inside of our hydroponics gardens because it's necessary, or break our bodies down for its component parts by using acids or nanotechnology, or when someone dies, hopefully mostly intact, we can put on ice their body parts because somebody might need an extra liver or an eye or something. I mean, there's a number of things. And mind you, the reason I'm saying this is because these are things probably we're going to have to talk about. We all talk about going to Mars. We don't talk about the fact that someone may die. What happens when they die? Do we put them in a crusher and like put them in a I don't know, 80-kilo brick of a living human matter and put them in a freezer for use later? Or, do we make them a kinetic kill weapon and dump them out into space? Right? I made that joke before that all those people in those metallic coffins that get dumped out into space are kinetic kill weapons of some sort, right? They're going to fall into suns or get pulled into gravity. Maybe not now, maybe not in 10,000 years, but once you dump something out into space, it's moving at the same relative speed you are. And so, yeah. So when in the past, one of our past episodes says our dead dumped into space might be seen as a shot across the bow of an alien species because our dead become kinetic kill weapons dropping into the atmosphere of some alien race or something, which would be pretty nasty. They're like, they're dropping their dead at us. They're barbaric. Vince is like, we play hit the target with space corpses. Yeah. Cameron says, one thing is for sure, they skimped on the safety precautions. I didn't see one handrail on those bridges. Hell yeah, or the Death Star and the Empire. Yeah, why aren't there handrails anywhere? They were just like, oh, that's a waste of time. Keep building the thing, and everyone, the Occupational Health and Safety Commission is just like, excuse me, here we need to do this. Forced choke. I said build it. There are no handrails on the steps. Yeah, literally a giant fusion reactors, no handrails, and a narrow pathway to get across to fix the damn thing. Makes sense, right? It makes sense. Oh my god. Yep, we need that handrail metal for more guns. Hells yes. Hells yes. Although I could see someone making that the case. Hey, if you fall off and you needed a handrail in the first place, you shouldn't have been working here. Yeah, we don't need weapons in space. Everything is a weapon if you go fast enough. Science and futurism with Isaac Arthur makes that point a hell of a lot. That every so-called unarmed ship is a weapon. The ship itself is a kinetic kill weapon. The engines could be turning them around are kinetic kill weapons. As a matter of fact, all the debris, all the so-called waste in your ship, chairs, bolts and nuts and bolts, the water inside of ships, freeze it, launch it fast enough, it could punch a hole through another starship with relativistic speed. So yeah, there are no unarmed ships in space. All you need to do is just go fast enough. Yeah, those escape pods, all you got to do is aim them in the right direction and take your ship, go fast enough, and drop it off the end. And yeah, damn. Yeah. Yep. Vince says, I love Isaac Arthur. Listen to him all the time. Yeah, me too. Just his Fermi Paradox series by itself is a gem to the speculative science fiction community just on its own. And oh my goodness. And he lives up north from me, about an hour and a half away in Ashtabula County. Tired Need Sleep says, launching a spanner or a screwdriver from a railgun would be a weapon. Yep. Heck, and if it doesn't fit into the railgun system, drop that spanner in some ice, put it in the railgun, and poof, and punch a hole in his ship. Hells yes. As a matter of fact, honestly, blasting ships in space is actually damn near dangerous, because if you don't destroy all the debris itself becomes kinetic kill weapons. Now, mind you, it would be the equivalent of like all that crap we dumped in our own atmosphere. The trash that we have floating around Earth that we put up there. Can you imagine that in a far future setting where they're just like, I can imagine a whole nother job would be just getting all that crap up. I don't know how to do it. And there are people who are now trying to figure out how to get the debris out of space around Earth, let alone any other planetary system. Yeah, Vince says, gives a whole new perspective for sci-fi when you consider every ship is carrying multiple weapons on it, even if it's unarmed. Don't let it be a cargo ship. Oh my God. Now, mind you, they may not have the capabilities to aim well, but a cargo craft carrying heavy amounts of anything, hell, sorry to tell you this, but that crew, that crew of 5,000 that's in cryosleep, yeah, they're weapons too. Crew member number 5, crew member number 6, launched off into space at your enemy. Yeah. Space janitor is a very dangerous job. Yep. I would maybe magnetics or something. I don't know. Giant foil nets. How do you collect space debris when it's moving so fast in so many different directions? I don't know. Maybe there are. Okay, Tired Neat Sleep says, I haven't seen it yet, but doesn't the Expanse touch on this? So I've read. Yes, it does. It does touch on this, and there could be another job in space that are starships that have nothing but giant shells around them, and your spacecraft links in or goes inside of. So okay, this is the only example I have. So I'm holding up a spool of tape. So imagine a starship in the middle, and then there's a big armored. The thickness of the tape I'm holding up is a big armored area, and your starship has to go in the middle of it. And then, in order to dock or move through a particular region because of all the debris that's floating around, and that would be kind of interesting to put into a setting where you can't just dock with a habitat. Like, you have to get behind a shield because you're being pelted by space debris all the time. Rickard says, talks about players are stuck in a historical simulation without knowing it. I love that. Oh man, Rickard, that's a block of text. I love it though. Oh man, let me just read through some of it. Mm-mm-mm. Oh no! Oh no! Oh man, that's cool. That's cool. Sorry, I was just reading the info that you put into the Discord. I'll get to it in just a minute. Um, Rickard says, riffing off the VR sim thing you mentioned. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it went to too long for YouTube, so I went to Discord. Yeah, no problem. Simulations that loop people, or a maze of thought that causes you. It's the idea of opening a door. You break the door open, you open the door, you go into another room. You are now standing in a room that you were just standing in. You open the door, you go into the room, to the next room. You open the door, and you're in the room that you were just standing in. You open the next door, you go into the room, you're standing in a room that you were just standing in. Like, those kind of things in virtual reality would probably be pretty common. Heck, in Black Mirror, virtual realities might not have anything in them, a la the Matrix, right? It's just a white background. There's nothing else except you and nothing. Yeah, like Harry Shore says, speed is relative. Oh, hells yes. Those spacecraft that where you drop a wrench and the wrench is floating mere inches or centimeters or whatever away from your fingertips, yeah, to you, not moving too fast. To everyone else, you're orbiting Earth at 18,000 miles per second, right? Yeah, or whatever this speed is, miles per hour. What you get what I'm saying? You're orbiting so fast. Um, like being on a speeding train, you can drink a cup of coffee and put that cup of coffee down on a speeding train because the liquid in the cup and everything in it is moving at the same speed. Take that cup and throw it out the window, and it'll punch through someone's forehead who's standing still, right? Cameron says, Ferengi 1, you can't launch the lithium. Ferengi 2, it's the only thing we have left. Ferengi 1, I'd rather die. Yeah, Vincent says Ferengi 2, well, you also have a good projectile. Exactly. Now, other things that could happen that are pretty heinous things to do in in a society are the creation and erasure and modulation of human experience. Here's what I mean by that. Whether now, mind you, this could be virtual reality or reality, but there's an argument that people have today in the non-role playing transhuman post-human work concept, and it goes above UBI, universal basic income, and that as humanity, if we live longer and longer lives, to the point where we can live forever, and all of our needs are met by for whatever reason, we have food, we have shelter, and we start adding into that um, uh, psychological and emotional fulfillment, right? Not just a place, not just four walls and a jumpsuit, but I'm talking about, like, we're able to pursue the things we want to do. The argument is, if we can live forever and we have no need for work, do we become lazy, or do we become super productive? And the argument could be made that in certain high tech situations, that a population might become lazy, and so the community artificially removes people, protections from people, to make them suffer in order for them to become better. For example, it might be a coming of age thing where young people are pushed out into a dark, dangerous world. Here's a backpack. You're on the frozen world of Hoth. You better survive, right? And why did our community choose to do this to young people? Because if we don't, the act of survival itself, the crucible of creativity and pressure, we might be losing that as a society. And so maybe we have like virtual realities where we go back into different historical periods where we have to learn how to survive. Or there's sleep teaching where for an hour we're hyper clocked to live 50 years in a brutal society, to then wake up and realize, how do we value what we have today, right? As opposed to the people in the movie WALL-E that are like bloated, sitting in floating chairs where it's too much trouble to like move your mouth to drink the Slurpee or something, right? And so some people believe if all your needs are met, we will become a utopia where we have nothing but the entire universe to engage in things that we've never done before, that it'll be a new realm of experiences and adventure, and we'll never stop exploring and communicating and combining together and being like basically loved and being loved in a concept that we don't have any concept of what it would look like when everyone everywhere is happy doing the thing they want to do without intruding on anyone else's free will, right? The opposite of that is lazy bastards that don't want to work, right? Which one would take over? Now, we're talking about tabletop RPGs. It might be both. And why not have both or some permutation thereof? Vince says, I always hear this, all your needs are met. Isn't that kind of already the case? We don't have to fear to starve or freeze to death. Most can even afford some luxury compared to 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we thrive. You are correct. There are some people who are saying that today we have every ability to care for the needs of every single human being, right? Now, it depends on what you mean by that, right? Some people say, is it just the minimum of food, clothing, shelter, some medicines? Is that the case? Others would say that life extension, like for example, today, literally healthcare today is life extension. So people who have better healthcare than others have a greater chance of life extension, i.e. a longer, better overall quality of life than those who must suffer more. And the case could be made that many of us, like I have no survival skills. Like I don't know how to kill a deer, skin a deer. You can get on YouTube, Vimeo, or whatever you look at, and there are survivalists who go out into the woods with nothing but like string or a knife or whatever, and you see them making forges and like doing some pretty damn amazing things in using survival techniques. What was the television show here in the States called? Preppers. That so many different preppers and learning how to survive and all this kind of stuff. I don't know any of that because most of my needs are met. Now, mind you, I had to work for many of those things, but does that make me lazy? I don't know. And using that, turning the volume up really high in tabletop games, I think is cool, because imagine the PCs go to a place where everyone's lazy. Well, when the PCs are running around, they're looking at the PCs like, what are you doing? Like, well, we need this information. I don't know. I guess it is around here somewhere. And the PCs are like, there's no one here to help us, right? On the other hand, it might be like the movie 300. Despite the fact that the 300 Spartans were really cool, we ignored the fact at the beginning of that movie they were tossing small children off of cliff sides because they weren't fit to be a Spartan, right? pretty nasty despite the outcome. You know, going back up to the chat, Rickard says some people will become lazy, others will become super productive. Or I say, become. It's not like that isn't the case anyways. Lazy people today find ways to avoid doing anything anyways. Yeah, maybe technology will have zero impact on that, right? Lazy people will always remain lazy. Productive people will remain productive. I could see that. Tired Needs Sleep says ending wage slavery is a lofty goal, but the powers that be would be incredibly resistant to do that as it benefits them. That's a story of grimness in itself. Um, in the setting Eclipse phase, we know that wage parity is a real thing. You don't need money, but the inner system artificially creates scarcity so that people have to work for what they need, even though they live in a world where those things, you don't need those things. And so when you remove scarcity, what happens? What do people do? Do they engage in things that intrude on your life? What, given the whole scope of humanity, are there some certain people you don't want them doing, having the free time to do the thing that makes them happy? Because the thing that makes them happy, yeah, there's some pretty dark people out there, and they may not want to cure their own psychoses if they think it's considered a psychosis. That's another thing in the future too. I imagine some things would be really cool as well. Like finding out that maybe there are some what we consider handicaps might actually be beneficial in the future. I think that would be an awesome twist on what we think of today and in the future. Rickard says, there is, however, a chance that some lazy people will have the opportunity to pursue their interests so that they will become productive because they do things they like. That's the I'm a glass half full person, so I look at the positivity, and that the people today that we consider to be the hangers on, the people who are lazy, the drainers, the ones who are non-productive in our own society, maybe it's because we haven't figured out a way to find out what they're good at, what they want to do, what they're passionate about. Some people are born with musical talents, culinary skills, teaching skills. Heck, there's some people who just want to take care of older people. Like I don't care. I've got a clean bedpans. I just want older people to feel good, and they've never had the opportunity to do those things, right? We know many stories. It's the genius out of the pit, right? Where for a long time, as a person of color, the assumption was, oh, those slaves don't have very many skills. Oh, given the opportunity, geniuses popped out. Well, maybe they weren't geniuses. Maybe these individuals who became musical sports icons, writers, scientists, and all that. It was because they never had the opportunity to do a thing. So there's the positive side of that is, yes, people might become more productive if we have algorithms that can find out what they can do. The opposite of that is maybe the algorithm might be like, yeah, if it wasn't for the fact you had to work, you wouldn't do it at all. Vince says, of course, healthcare is life extension. I work in a nursing home. Ooh, and some of the residency, that's right, simply cannot understand how they got 80 or 90 years old when they were when they were young. This was super rare. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and it's getting even better. Healthcare is getting even better for life extension. We're life extending, but we're just doing it piecemeal. But those piecemeal things are pushing the envelope further and further away. So we're getting older. Egg of death. What's going on? There are large parts of the world's population that do not benefit from our modern world's excuse me, ability to provide. There's still a global have not situation. Will that change in the future? That's hard to say. And some argue, like I said, some would argue we should keep it that way. We should artificially create strife and okay, today we have a thing known as the participation award. Hey, if kids are going to be in sports, they should all get a trophy. And people are like, no, don't give them a reward. They should work for it. That's where the argument comes from. But we're talking about this technologically speaking. That's kind of cool. Um, Man, yeah. Cameron says, there could be a war between the lazy and the productive. I don't quote. I don't know how they do it, Shepard. I was ready for battle. I launched fighters, but somehow the lazies just hit the snooze button. uh, the ultimate mega weapon. What does it do? Does it light the atmosphere on fire? No. Is it a kinetic kill weapon that shatters the earth, the earth's crust? No. What does it do? Does it poison the atmosphere? No. It is the snooze button. What? How does it work? Oh, French toast. uh, Broke as Fuck Game says, this sounds like the discussion people give for universal income. Check out how studies went on that. Yeah, it didn't end the way they thought it would. And here's here's the problem with that. Maybe it's situational, right? We could end up finding out that there are algorithms that prove that some people will be productive and others wouldn't. What if you find out that the laziest people in your society would become the most productive given keeping their needs met versus the people who are the alpha? We today we talk about they're the alpha male, they are the alpha worker, they are the top of the heap. They step on anyone's throat, they're going to get to where they want. What if we find out in the future that algorithmically we don't need those people? Oh, Vince, all right, man. Hey, you have a great one. And we've actually come to the hour mark, so Vince, you're not too far off. We will end it pretty soon. Yeah, there are lots of micro studies of universal basic income, and some think of it differently. Like, do you give them a couple of more dollars, or do you pay for their entire life? And I think there's a difference between that as well, in our own life. And then when we go out into space, universal basic income might be a necessity, because think about it today. There isn't one astronaut in space that's getting paid to work. And when I say that, they are getting a paycheck. Yes, I get it. When they're out in space, they're all equal. They all have to do a job. They all have to work together. They are pursuing science and investigation and things. When they are out in space, they are egalitarian. They need to work together. When we go out and when we become a space-faring society and we go to Mars, who gets to go and what will we be doing there? Do we need to pay each other when we have 3D printers? How you would be a waste of space if you are lazy when you go to another habitat, right? So what happens then? Maybe you don't even go if you know that when you get there, you're going to have a job to do. As opposed to maybe there's a habitat where you can only come here if you're only like a hippie commune, right? You can only come here if you're ready to pursue the things that you want to pursue. And that those pursuits might be work. There are many people who want to work. I want to build schools. Wait, you want to do what? Yeah, I want to break my back building schools. Okay. There are people who are really into that. And then there's mixers of that. Hey, for 3 months, I'd love to build things, and then I'd love to take 6 months off to do nothing but hike, and then come back for 3 months and start building. That might be a thing in the future as well. I imagine a enclave society that's doing nothing but hiking, like thousands and thousands of people with backpacks on, just walking the world for no reason than to walk the world and to see the sunset from some of the most amazing places on Earth. And that's all they do. They just walk from one place to another. And they're like, well, where are they? They use simple technology to survive, but they're going for a walk. And they're like, hey, everybody, I was thinking we would go north. And everyone's like, all right, fine. Send the message along the line. Let's pack up and go. Hey, can we stay here for a couple more days? Yeah, sure. Tired Needs Sleep said, would an automated society where there are no jobs for people actually be better? That remains to be seen. That also make a great story setting. Oh, yeah, because in a way, when we reach the singularity means different things for different people. And what if the singularity is automation removing like 90% of the work we do, and it gets to the point where most people do not have jobs. What would that post-apocalypse look like when our society is flipped on its head? When excuse me, when the first factories were created, people were up in arms because they wanted to destroy the factories because handmade items were being that society, part of society was being dismantled. When the automobile was created, the motored coach, and people that raised horses for most of their life, for generations, were like, you're going to destroy our society. When automated things, and the funny thing is, it's not just labor. We think of it like ditch digging, right? Like machines are going to take over ditch digging. Right now, technology is taking away white collar jobs, service industry, talking on phones, filling out paperwork, answering questions, food preparation, a lot of those things. Heck, we have restaurant services. Like those little micro jobs are starting to disappear. Driving trucks on the road. Sorry, throat. Yeah, a lot of that's disappearing. So I wonder what that world would look like. Would the PCs be rebels to destroy the machines that are slowly taking the machine takeover? Isn't armed with guns? It's armed personages. Or maybe the PCs become AI android defenders, or the PCs play androids in this habitat where there's a lot of prejudice. In the setting of Eclipse phase, especially on the moon, they're called the clanking masses, are synthetic humans, or synthetic beings rather, despite having human brain neural nets inside of them with cortical stacks, are looked at as second-class citizens because they're taking away the jobs of humanity. They are mechanically outbreeding biology, and they're hated. It's just prejudice. Rickard says musicians that have to take a soul-crushing job just to pay the bills to survive. Sure, they might not all produce masterpieces, but they might still play a lot of music and be small-scale productive. As a matter of fact, there are some brilliant people that we will never get to see in the artistic world simply because they have to become a wage slave, right? How many, excuse me, how many musicians out there have disappeared because they have to become, get into real estate or truck driving or whatever. There's a lot of that. There are a lot of us in the community that are brilliant writers and creators and artists that, a lot of artists, they can't live on it. And maybe these people would be producing more. When all your needs are met, we're assuming that people become lazy, but there are people who desire to work for free. And when I say work, I'm talking like cleaning streets, doing gardening, taking care of children or elderly, reading books and delving into science. You know how many scientists would love to not have to worry about being funded? I mean, so I think it's a fallacy to think that everyone would be lazy, but you got to admit, there would be probably a few nation states full of lazy people if everyone's needs were met. Heck, we could actually make a whole nation just filled with them, maybe. Ricker says, just did some checking, and to not beat around the bush, studies of places that have implemented some sort of universal basic income seems to have positive results. He goes on to say, people don't want to work. They want to feel fulfilled and valued. That's where I think the differences come in, where they want to feel fulfilled and valued. And matter of fact, there are people who do great work who do not feel fulfilled and valued, and our postal union says that a good worker is a happy worker. And there are many people who do monotonous, backbreaking, torturous, heck, even just nasty jobs, dirty jobs. Remember, there was a television show on TV, Dirty Jobs. There are a lot of people who do those things, because at the end result, they are building something for their community, for their family. They feel fulfilled, right? No one, people don't want to be shot at, but there are police officers who want to protect their community, and they feel fulfilled when people thank them for doing that. Same thing with military, right? I don't want to die as a soldier, but I want to protect my people. So you thank them for doing their job. And so, yes, being fulfilled and valued is a thing. I could imagine in the future when Mars becomes populated by millions of people, that maybe sports, maybe physical ability isn't valued. Maybe scientists become the new sports figures. Mathematicians and astrophysicists and xenobiologists become the new sports figures. That'd be awesome, I think. Cameron says, imagine how hard Jet was to convince a coppersmith to learn bronzesmithing. That was probably a headache back in the day. Oh, how hard it was. Yes. Oh, none of us likes change. What is it? Don't move my cheese. Imagining a two mice. One mouse sees the cheese on the trap. The other mouse sees the bigger block of cheese on top of the table, and it's like, don't move my cheese. Lots of us, despite the hardship, don't want the cheese to be moved. As a matter of fact, there are many people who have financial stability that still climb mountains, deep sea dive, wrestle tigers and alligators and stuff like that. It's really weird. Ego Death says, without the need to learn and trial, fail, succeed, will people feel fulfilled where everything is just available and or a matter of choice? Well, think about our cell phone, right? Where's my cell phone at? If I type in, this device gives me most human knowledge of entire history. What is it mostly used for? Flame wars, Twitter, effing sucks, right? We have, it's at our fingertips, but how many people use it? And you sometimes, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying, like, the devil's advocate would be, just because you have enough time to learn 20 languages doesn't mean you will learn 20 languages. If death and struggle brings with it time and energy and limited time. So when you start to remove those barriers, some people say that, well, I have the ability. Yeah, flame wars, right? Yeah, right. Sucking sucks. Blah blah blah. Right. Instead of going brain surgery, let's look that up. No one does that. People don't go like, hey, I'm going to learn needlepoint on my phone. I mean, there are people who do, but for the most part, there aren't people sitting around on public transportation. They're reading, like, flame warring each other or news things or talking with friends or family, but they're not learning new skills, right? Some of them aren't. That kind of Ego Death. I'm sorry. Rickard says people don't want to work; they want to feel fulfilled and valued. And Tired Needs Sleep says, if people at the top can exploit people to maintain their position, wealth, and power, they certainly will. Yeah, Rickard says, difference between working to live and living for work. There are lots of people who, more often than not, some of the places that are the best places to work fulfill a lot of your needs. We always hear about Google being one of the best, being rated one of the top places to work in the world because they do your dry cleaning. They have a masseuse. You get to take nap times. You can bring your pets to work. What else? There's a bunch of things. Now, mind you, they also expect you to work 12-hour shifts. You may not have much of a personal life, and technology gives us the ability to do things we never did before. Like, for example, how many older people are amazed at having Zoom calls and being on Facebook and communicating with their young people that they weren't able to do before with email and text messaging and things? Yeah, sure. It could get a little complicated to try to explain to your 73-year-old grandparent how to use their smartphone. But once you set it up and you get to text message them or video chat with them on the regular, they appreciate it. And there's technology that allows us to stay in contact with each other when normally we weren't able to, right? So who's to say that, like, we won't have different populations. So it might be a flip of how we arrange our society. Rickard says, question, what do fantasy and high-tech interwebs and cyberpunk? That's a little bit too intricate since we got to the end here. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for being part of this. Rickard's like, trolls, but the trolls in cyberpunk is immune to fire. You're so wrong with yeah. What do fantasy and high-tech interwebs in a cyberpunk game? How do they interweb? Well, trolls, but the trolls in cyberpunk are immune to fire. All right, guys. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Got to get out of here. Please come back to the show Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye.